All right, guys. So I'm going to tell you, there is some very, very, very interesting politics that is on the horizon. Okay. And this situation right here, right, is basically a political junkie's dream, right? Because you remember how I tell you guys, the pendulum always swings the other way in politics, and it's not necessarily overt. Okay. Sometimes you can reap what you sow in ways that the public is not necessarily going to realize unless you're paying very close attention to what's actually going on in Congress. And that is probably what is going to happen right now, as Kevin McCarthy has basically said that he's going to introduce a resolution to censure Maxine Waters for inciting violence during this weekend, right outside of the Dante Wright protest. Okay, now you know, a couple of days ago I was pissed off at McCarthy because I thought he was coming soft, right? And I still think he's been a little soft, right? I think they should have seriously considered trying to expel Maxine Waters, right? But I do understand that politically the most likely thing to happen is a censure, and the censure is important because if it's successful, then Maxine Waters will lose her chairship on the Financial Services Committee, right? Which is a big, big, big deal. Okay. And I think that that is appropriate considering what the Democrats did to Marjorie Taylor Greene for things that she didn't even say in Congress, right? So, I mean, the way that the Democrats are trying to finesse their way around this, because Pelosi basically said that, oh, Maxine Waters shouldn't apologize for her comments. The way they're trying to finesse this with the double standard, again, is really hypocritical. And Kevin McCarthy here is playing a little bit of 3D chess, okay? And I'll explain, but I want you guys to watch Kevin McCarthy and his explanation in regards to him bringing forth a censure vote against Maxine Waters.
Well, I believe it rises to that level because Maxine Waters believes there's value in violence. This is the first time she's done something like this. Remember what she said in the past administration, for people to get in their faces, to challenge everyone. And now what she has said has even put doubt into a jury. You had a judge announce that it was wrong. I think this takes action, especially when she has a pattern of this behavior. To have censure simply takes the majority of the House. But what could happen if this was to pass, because of the Democrats' rules, she would lose her chairmanship of the Financial Services. So maybe then she would learn once and for all, there is no value in violence.
Do you believe that there are 3 or 4 Democrats who might cross over and join you in censuring her?
I know there's probably 10 to 15 who would love to vote that way. It will all come down to the pressure of what Democrats will put on them to just try to vote to table it, not even to have the discussion. And if they hold together, then they're going to own what not only Maxine Waters has been saying, but what Calif and the others about removing police officers and others. This has gone on too far and for too long. It's time to say what is right and what is wrong, and everybody knows her action was wrong then, and her action was wrong before when she called for violence.
All right, guys. So you heard Kevin McCarthy. Now, here's why this is kind of a big deal, okay? Because he's going to try to force this to a formal vote. Now, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, they're going to try to table this thing, right? They're going to try to make sure it does not go to a formal vote, right? A vote that's going to be on the record, right? And in order for them to do that, all they need is a simple majority. Now, the problem for the Democrats is that they really only have a very, very, very slim majority, right? It's 218 Democrats to 212 Republicans. So simple math just suggests that, well, if you get 3 Democrats to deflect, right, and vote to basically having a formal vote to censure Maxine Waters, then essentially it forces a formal vote that's going to go on record and show that, okay, did you condone what Maxine Waters was saying? And this is going to be a big deal for 2 reasons. One, first and foremost, is that, you know, we're going to see what happens after the verdict for this Derek Chauvin trial, right? And if things get out of control, like we've seen all last year, people can point right back to Maxine Waters and said, you contributed to this, right? This is what you asked for, okay? Now consider this. There are 9 Democrats in the House that currently hold seats in places and districts that Donald Trump won in 2020, right? So these Democrats are in moderate areas, right? And now if this thing goes for a vote, which is what Kevin McCarthy really wants, he wants to go for a vote. These 9 Democrats that are in these moderate, basically Trump-friendly places, they're going to have to go on record to say whether or not they condone what Maxine Waters actually said. Okay? And that's the chess match here. Right? Because if they go on record and say that, hey, you know what? We're cool with what she said, and then all hell breaks loose in the streets, that could potentially cost the Democrats the House in 2022. It really can. Right? The Democrats have a very, very, very slim majority. In most of these places, guys, we're talking about the Midwest and the Northeast. Okay? That's what we're talking. So, again, these are more moderate areas that something like this, again, could have a huge impact moving forward come 2022 as these people try to basically get reelected or either run for Senate, right? So this is why Kevin McCarthy really, really, really wants this. And Maxine Waters basically handed the Republican Party a layup. She really did, right? To a certain extent. She really did. If they can actually get a formal vote on this, that could have huge implications for the future. Now, something else I want to show you guys. Hakeem Jefferies, right, who's one of the leaders for the Democrats in the House, came out and came after Kevin McCarthy, right, in the most embarrassing way possible. Because he goes in on Kevin McCarthy and says that he should sit this one out, right, because of January 6th and Trump and all that stuff. But yet, he doesn't even know what Maxine Waters said to cause this situation in the first place. Take a look.
I certainly will not support that frivolous resolution. And I think that Chairwoman Waters has made clear, certainly the perspective of the House Democratic Caucus is clear. We support peaceful protests consistent with the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and the right to petition the government peacefully. That is what we continue to support. Now, Kevin McCarthy should focus on his own conference because the Republicans in the House are a mess right now. Perhaps he should sit this one out. When you think that Kevin McCarthy has the nerve to say something about anyone, when he supported the violent insurrection after the mob attacked the Capitol, threatened to assassinate Nancy Pelosi, kill other members of Congress, hang Mike Pence. He then came back to the Capitol, voted to support the big lie, which ignited the violent insurrection, and continues to play footsie with Donald Trump. When you've got a situation where Lauren Boebert is a mess, Matt Gaetz is a mess, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a mess, clean up your mess, Kevin. Sit this one out. You've got no credibility here. We support peaceful protests.
May I follow up just very quickly? Do you support what Representative Waters said, her words?
To be honest, I'm not that familiar with what she said. I know she made clear in comments afterward that she supports peaceful protests. Dr. King supported nonviolent direct action. That is what House Democrats support.
Guys, how embarrassing is that? How embarrassing that? Guys, it just shows these Democrats are playing for a team, right? It shows that they don't care about precedent, right? They don't have any morals. They don't have any principles. They don't have any standards. He went out there and defended Maxine Waters and attacked Kevin McCarthy, and he didn't even know what Maxine Waters said. Okay? You would think that he would know what she said before he actually goes up there and opens his mouth to defend her, right? And to go after Kevin McCarthy. Half the stuff he said was hogwash. One, Kevin McCarthy wanted to censure Trump. He didn't want to impeach Trump, but he wanted to censure Trump. Okay, and he took a lot of flack with that from a lot of conservatives in the base for wanting to do that. Second, what has Lauren Boebert done? Lauren Boebert hasn't done anything. What has Matt Gaetz been charged with? As of today, he hasn't been charged with anything. And Marjorie Taylor Greene got stripped of her committee assignment for something that she said before she even got into Congress, by the way. Again, that's so important. People tend to forget that. They punished her for something that she said before she even got into Congress, okay? That's the type of precedent that these Democrats are setting. So, with that being said, what is there really to go after Kevin McCarthy for? Only thing Kevin McCarthy is doing is he's just giving you a taste of your own medicine because you guys set the precedent for this to happen. I mean, realistically, guys, would we be doing this if the Democrats didn't tell us that, hey, using, certain types of extreme rhetoric that could potentially incite violence, hey, you got to be punished for that, right? They set the precedent for that because before in the past, politicians use all type of rhetoric, right? And, everybody was just, oh, that's just political speech. But see, the Democrats changed that. The Democrats have now defined there's a difference between political speech and speech that incites violence, okay? The Democrats established that. Now they're being held to their own standard, and now they want to cry about it. They want to cry about it. And the fact that this man didn't even know what Maxine Waters says tells you everything you need to know about how the Democrats actually feel about this stuff. They don't care. The only thing they care about is power, right? That's the only thing they care about. They don't give a damn about the principles, because if they give a damn about the principles, they probably vote to censure her the same way they did for Trump if they really care about extreme rhetoric. So we're going to see what happens. But there are some moderate Democrats who may be forced to sign up for this thing if Kevin McCarthy can actually force a vote on the House floor. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, if the progressives was actually politically savvy, they should probably try to use this as leverage against Nancy Pelosi for whatever they want, right? Because at this point, the Democrats are together, but they're only together by a thread, right? They're only hanging together by a thread. They're together in opposition to the Republicans, but they're not together in regards to the policy. And this right here is a prime opportunity for the Republicans to create some type of conflict and division within the Democrat Party that can really help them out in 2022. So if Kevin McCarthy can actually force a censure vote on the House floor, even if it doesn't pass, all these Democrats are going to go on the record to say that whether or not they supported Maxine Waters or not. And depending on what happened after the verdict of this trial, it could be a huge deal. It could have a lot of negative implications for the Democrats. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.